Steve Bone is standing by. We had a brief word before we turned the microphones on, and I asked him how he was, and he said, well, as well as can be expected. And I said, well, stand by to be depressed because I'm going to ask you. So
yes,
last night,
we have to talk about it, don't we? Yeah.
Come on, your
it's
take.
funny that for some reason the Coventry game, I got more nervous and worked up in the day or 2 days before that game than I have for a long time about a game, and I don't really know why. I think it was because we lost at Millwall in the way we did. And then attention turned to Coventry, and it's another away game, and you're not expecting much, and you're just thinking, if we can get a point at Coventry, especially after all those draws for the other teams on Tuesday night. None of them won, did they? Did one of them win, possibly? But most of them drew, a couple of them lost. You're just thinking, if we can grind out a 0-0, you know me, I love a 0-0 away from home. The grittier the better. And I was following it. I can't listen to the radio commentary of an away game. I find it too nerve-wracking. So I was following it. I had Sky Sports News on. I was following on Twitter. And the longer it went on, you're thinking, we could do this. We're good value for this. 0-0. Gets to quarter to 10. You're thinking there can't be long left. It's 0-0. I think we might just do it, despite the evidence of recent games telling us you probably won't. And then 90 plus 3 goal, Coventry 1, Pompey 0, and you just can't believe it, can you? 3 away games in a row now. We've let in a late. We've turned 1 point into no points. If we got a point from each of those 3 away games, it would have been as good as an extra win. And it's just so it's beyond frustrating. It's infuriating because it's happened so often. And our away record now for this season is 1-2, drawn 4, lost 15. So we've lost 5 out of every 7 away games we've played, which is bad. That is relegation form. Luckily, our home form is playoff form.
Yeah.
And that's balanced it out, and that's what was kept to 17th. So yeah, it's very easy to get depressed about it, isn't it? But you've got to lift yourself, and you've got to think about the next game. And I was cheered up this morning, in fact, by Pompey Pedro on Twitter.
Yeah.
So he did a little screenshot of the bottom section of the table, and he said, "We are in a mini league of 8 teams. We are top of that mini league at the moment. We only need to finish in the top 5, and we only need about 5 or 6 points in the 5 games we've got left." And that's true. That is true. You've got to keep things in context. We are still, I think, we're unlikely to go down. We shouldn't go down. It's very much in our own hands. There'll be other teams that would swap our position for theirs if they could. So we've got to try and stay positive. But it is difficult to be positive when you keep getting kicked in the teeth.
Yes.
Like we did again last night.
Well, that's an elegant piece of self-deception by Pompey Pedro, but I'll take it.
Yes, I know. Yeah. If we can finish top of that mini league, we'll be happy, won't we? If we finish 5th in that mini league, which would mean 21st in the table, we'd take it at the moment, wouldn't we? I think any old how. All
those other results came in, we lost, and yet we stay 17th.
Yeah. I mean, we're fortunate that quite a few other teams down the bottom are losing as well. I suppose the difference between last season and this, isn't it? Last season, you're in a promotion battle, you keep winning, but so do other teams because that's why they're at the top.
Yeah.
In a relegation battle, you think you're going to win games, you don't, and that's why you're in the bottom 8. But the other teams down there with you, you worry about them winning. Of course, they're not going to keep winning because they're down the bottom as well. They're at the same level as you are. So yes, that is fortunate. I've said on here before, I just think us and Oxford just seem to be locked together forever. We came up together, didn't we? Last year. We've done that before as well. And we there we are now on the same number of points and almost the same goal difference. I think Pompey and Oxford will both stay up. Plymouth, you're starting to think Plymouth are not going to get out of it now. They're a little bit behind now, aren't
Surely
they?
not.
You just can't see them turning it around. They're losing. They're not losing narrowly, are they? They were very well beaten at Swansea on Wednesday night. You can't see them putting together the sort of run they would need. But everybody else is a little bit too close still for comfort. Luton 40, Cardiff and Derby, who we play of course Saturday, 42. So it's a bit close for comfort still, but I still think we'll be all right.
Yes. Elsewhere on Pompey Sound, somebody pointed out that the goal difference between Cardiff and Pompey is now down to, I think it's 3, it might be 4. And that's
4, yeah.
It's 4. And that's a little bit too close for comfort. If there was a bit of daylight there, then instead of being 4 points adrift, we'd kind of be 5 points adrift.
Yeah, if you want to look at the worst case scenario, for example, if they were to win 2-0 on Saturday and we were to lose 2-0,
it's gone.
We'd have, that's just the same number of points and same goal difference. I think we've scored marginally more. We've scored 3 more goals than them. It might even come down to that, mightn't it?
Yeah.
Although I think Cardiff are playing somebody. Is it Cardiff Stoke on Saturday? I think it might be.
Sounds right.
There's quite a few games to come between those other teams down there, including ourselves playing Derby and Hull, of course. So.
Yeah.
Lots of points are going to be dropped.
So you're not at all as crestfallen as you might have expected. Going into the game, as you said, feeling a little bit nervous, on the edge of your seat, watching Sky Sports. But you've got through to the following day, and you're looking on the bright side of life.
I think you have to, as a Pompey fan. You get too down otherwise. You've got to just like the manager with his players. I'm sure he won't want them to dwell on last night too much. They'll have had a bit of a post-mortem in the dressing room afterwards. But if they're doing a bit of training today, they'll be, hopefully springing their step. This is what we need to do Saturday. This is who's going to play. This is how we're going to play. It's our game to control. Forget about the it's almost like away games are a different language to the home games this season, isn't it? They're so different. Our form and the things we're doing, the mistakes we're making in the away games are so different to what we're doing at home. You look at how well we've seen out those home games where we've been 1 goal up against Leeds and Blackburn and QPR and Cardiff. We've been 1 goal up for lengthy periods in those games and have seen it out. And yet away from home, you just need to sit on a 0-0 or a 1-1 for 10 minutes. You can't do it. So I'm glad I'd probably rather not be playing Derby because they're on a great run. But we're at home, so let's remember how good we are at home.
Yes, but we'll be getting very nervous, won't we, if it's 1-0 in the 87th minute.
Yes, we will. It goes with the territory, doesn't it? People will be, because we've had this little run of late goals conceded, and it's been happening all season. I saw somebody point out that we conceded late at Leeds in the first game, and it's been a theme all the way through. Happened at Watford, happened at Burnley, I think. It hasn't happened at home, really. I don't think, not to our cost anyway.
Do you have a theory? Is there a pattern here, or do you see it as a series of one-offs? Every time it happens, it's marginally different, players, different circumstance.
I think it is just not bad luck as such, because you should be able to defend these situations, especially when you get into the last minute of injury time. I don't think there's a particular pattern in it. I think it's just the way the dice have gone for us away from home. Maybe there's a psychological thing when we're playing away from home. It's playing on the players' minds a bit, and we all know that if you start to overthink things in an effort to stop repeating mistakes, you're almost more likely to make that mistake again. But it's something we need to if we do stay up, and I think we will, going into next season. If we want to be a bit better next season than we are this season, the away form is going to have to somehow improve, whatever that takes.
Yeah, football, if anything, is over-analysed, I think, in places on occasions.
Yeah.
And it's always the physical aspects of the game, with very few managers and coaching staff really daring to try and delve into the mind of their players. But so much of this is probably psychological.
Yeah, I think there's an element of it that is definitely. They're humans. They think like the players are no different to fans, really, in that they must worry about sequences and they must be aware of things happening over and over again. that the players will be aware of what fans are talking about and how upset people get at late goals being conceded and points being lost where they might have been won. It's only natural, isn't it, that it's going to play on their minds. The trick is, who are the strong characters that can put it out of their minds.
Yeah, you need dressing room leaders, don't you?
Yeah,
cultural architects, I think they call them.
Yes.
In highfalutin quarters. I think Sean Goran Eriksson identified David Beckham as being his cultural architect, the man he wanted his players to have his work ethic and his positive attitude.
Something to look up to.
Yeah.
Something to copy, almost, yeah.
Now, Marlon Pack, I think, would be the most likely cultural architect in a Pompey dressing room, and we're missing him as a player and possibly also somebody operating behind the scenes before the game and at half-time and on the pitch.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned him, and people will think we set this up and we didn't, because I haven't mentioned this to you until now. I tweeted after the game last night, and it's always dangerous tweeting a sort of selection opinion after a defeat, because you get all sorts of abuse sometimes, but I didn't actually. I got more people agreeing than disagreeing, and I said, do you know who I'd bring in to the starting lineup on Saturday? Marlon Pack. I think
because
calm head, won't do anything silly. He'll just put his foot on the ball when he needs to. He'll keep everybody around him ticking over, doing what they need to do. So I would either bring him into the centre of defence alongside Reagan and move Connor back to left back. I think Connor's done okay. That's enough. I mean, played well last night. Him and Bramall, got a bit tangled for what led to the goal, didn't they? But Connor has done well. But I prefer Conor Ogilvie at left back personally. I think we're a bit more solid when he's there. So I'd either bring Pack into the centre of defence, or if Rob Atkinson is fit again, and I've seen one or two people suggesting he might be, don't think the manager has given any view on that yet. If Atkinson is free to come in next to Paul, I would even put Marlon Pack in midfield. I know he hasn't played there for a long time, but I just think now might be the time that he can carry us over the line. Put him in next to Dazelle probably would be your first choice.
Be interesting to look at Pompey's results this season with and without Marlon Pack in the starting 11.
It would, yeah. I've no idea what that would show, because he did play early season. He was playing, wasn't he?
He was, and we weren't getting any results, were we?
But
no.
I think I'm right in saying at home, when he's played in the centre of defence, our results have been pretty good.
Yeah, definitely.
There was the game against Millwall when he was partly responsible for the winning goal against us, but generally speaking, him and Paul have had some good games together, and he's played next to a couple of other. Has he played alongside Towler a couple of times, and even Atkinson?
At the start of the season, he did. Yeah.
So I would have no problems about bringing him back in, and give him the armband back. He's a captain; he can rally them. Just think we could do worse than bring him back in for the not just for the Derby game, but maybe for the last 5 games.
How surprised were you that we brought the Australian striker in and played him in front of Colby Bishop? It took most people by surprise.
Yeah, it was a curveball, wasn't it? See, the manager is saying it was effectively a 4-4-2, so he was sort of regarding Bishop and Waddingham as sort of equals in terms of where they were playing, which is quite a departure, isn't it? We haven't played 4-4-2 very often under this manager. I think, by all accounts, he did okay, didn't he? I didn't see it, as you know, but
he's very busy. He plays the press well. Colby Bishop is well, he's not Harry Kane when he drops back into attacking midfield, but he's pretty effective because he's a good footballer. He's got a good brain.
Yeah, he's a sensible footballer, isn't he? Yeah, he holds the ball up well and thinks about what he's going to do with it, brings others into the play, doesn't he? And the manager afterwards was suggesting that Waddingham is going to get a little run of games. So, it'd be interesting to see if he keeps his place and we go for a similar formation on Saturday.
Did you catch that the Millwall boss said we caught Pompey out by playing 2 up front and going long, And
yes, he did, didn't he?
I read it in a couple of places. Therefore, John Messina would have read it as well and thought, well, we're playing a bit of a direct game at the minute,
Yeah.
so maybe I need two up front.
Extra person up there for some of those long balls, because sometimes when we do play fairly direct and when the goalie is kicking long, Bishop is winning a header and there's just nobody anywhere near him to latch onto.
Correct.
We've seen that a number of times. It's nothing more frustrating, for us and for Bishop as well. He's working his socks off and he's not really getting enough support up there. So that's obviously what Massinio was thinking in bringing Waddingham in. Let's not forget Waddingham scored a couple of minutes after coming on in his debut, didn't he? At West Brom. I know it was a tap-in, but he still had to be there.
You've still got to be there.
In the right place. Got to be in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
So maybe he's seeing something in Waddingham in training that he thinks is worth, giving him a go now. Interesting for Omani and Yengi, isn't it, that they now seem to be a little bit behind Waddingham in the pecking order of strikers. Must make them think, well, what's the future? Maybe, I don't know. Maybe it's not that. Maybe it's just that at this time, Massinio thinks Waddingham's worth a try. So it'd be great to see him, get his first Fratton Park goal on Saturday. Wouldn't it? Time to get your first one.
Speaking of Yengi, the people who like to read between the lines, and there's plenty of them, and it's a very enjoyable sport, reading between the lines.
It is.
Are wondering whether there's some kind of disagreement or rift even between Yengi and the Pompey coaching management, because they may have said to him, look, you're only just ready to play for us. We've nursed you for 4 months, back to fitness. You don't need to go to Australia. We think that they probably won't start you. They might even give you a run out. You'd be doing a 40,000-mile journey for absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
And, the worst-case scenario is that you'll injure yourself on the training ground. And that's what happened.
Exactly what happened, isn't it? You could almost see it coming.
And they might have given him the option and said, we'll keep you at home. We'll tell the Australians you don't want to come. We'll say that you're not 100% fit yet, because it's always marginal.
There's ways of doing it.
And Yengi, I think, being an Aussie, would go, no, I want to wear the yellow and green, the gold and green. Sorry, because that's what Aussies tend to be like. And then there we were, deprived of him again for a couple of matches.
So maybe when he's come back, there's been some words exchanged. Told you so, sort of thing. Told you should have stayed here, and maybe he's not. I mean, we're speculating, aren't we? But
we're reading between the lines.
Possibly, we are. There's nothing wrong with that at all. If people don't sort of tell us full stories on things, we're quite entitled to do that. I always think. Yeah, possibly. I mean, his season, as far as we're concerned, has been a big disappointment, hasn't it? After so much promise last season and the goals and assists he got, with not many, relatively few minutes on the pitch last season, he still delivered. This season he's probably had about the same number of minutes on the pitch, actually, maybe a little bit less, but 2 or 3 spells out injured, and when he has had his chance he's not really taken it, has he? Which is a shame. I think contract wise we've got the option of extending, haven't we, on him for a year, so it'll be interesting to see what they do there, and whether there's any interest from elsewhere. Perhaps the player will think it's time to move on and try something else, but it's a shame. It's not. Even up to recent weeks, I was thinking he could be the new blood to come into the team at the end of the season and just give us that shot in the arm and get us over the line, but hasn't happened and doesn't look like it's going to happen, sadly.
Nicholas Schmidt in goal. He gets plenty of credit. But there are those who wonder whether he gets quite enough credit for what he does, because he stops an awful lot of really difficult shots. He's a real shot stopper, isn't he? And
he is,
a pretty good centre half.
Yeah, he's very comfortable coming out, isn't he? And ball at his feet and deciding who to play it to, or playing it long. And even last night, in fact, he appeared to have saved a point, didn't he? With a very good save, fingertips onto the post, a couple of minutes before the end. And when that happens, that close to the end of the game, everybody's thinking, "Oh, that was Coventry's chance, and he saved us, and we'll be all right now." And nothing you could do about the goal. Really, it was a great finish for the goal, wasn't it? Once it fell.
Oh, it was a fabulous volley.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
Nicely put away.
Damn it!
And it was so well played. Yeah, so well placed that the keeper couldn't do anything about it. Yeah, I think he's. Some people will be voting for him in the Player of the Season votes. I would think. I know he wasn't in the team until sort of October, sort of time, but he's played 2/3 of the season, and he's been a big reason that we are where we are. I think, in terms of being above the bottom three and not in it still. Probably our best signing of last summer, you would say, at the moment, wouldn't you?
He's certainly up there. We've brought in some people who we didn't think were going to be particularly impressive, and they've really carved out a niche for themselves. I suppose I'm thinking particularly of Andre Dozell, who started
Murphy.
Slowly.
Murphy, the other obvious one.
Absolutely, yes, yeah. And Bramall, of course, is cutting a dash, going down the touchline, and defending as well. So there's plenty of candidates for cheap but worth every penny.
Yeah.
After the game, John Messino seemed, of course, frustrated because that was a point lost. But at the same time, he seemed very happy with the way the team had played. Do you think he got that about right?
I think so, yeah, because if you had come away with a 0-0 draw, people would say, yeah, great battling point on the road against a team seeking the playoffs. We deserved it, We had our chances as well, didn't we? Hit the bar with Poole and a couple of other chances. In fact, Bramall went through at the very end, didn't he, and had a chance and could and probably should have squared to Bishop.
Yeah.
And it would have been 1-0 to us in injury time and not 1-0 to them. 0-0. I think if you come away from a game like that and 0-0 would have been a fair result, especially given our away record, you've got to say that's a good effort, really.
Yeah.
And you kind of think if we had played that well in all our away games, easy to say now, but if we played that well in all our away games, we'd probably have more points than we actually have on the road.
I've got a strange one for you.
Right, so you always have a strange one.
Oh, this one is strange. I'm not going to say who sent me this message.
Right.
But I got a message saying, "Did you see Rich Hughes sitting with Rob Edwards last night?" And then they added, "Not a good look." I think this person, who shall remain nameless, is beginning to incubate one or two worries.
Yeah.
About the coaching management at Pompey. And I don't know what the worry might be, because Rob Edwards, I believe, is out of work, having been let go by Luton. But I think they worked together at Forest Green. So maybe they're just buddies.
Okay.
Maybe they're just mates.
I don't know why that's... Yeah, I wouldn't have seen them together and thought that's not a good look. People put two and two together when they see person A sitting next to person B.
They read between the lines.
Box. They do, don't they? And, which is what we've just been doing, of course. But I can't see there's anything to worry about there. I mean, it's not going to be Rob Edwards after a job at Pompey at the moment, because there is no job and there's not going to be in the foreseeable future.
Surely not.
It's not Rich Hughes talking to Rob Edwards about going to his club because he hasn't got a club at the moment. I think it's far more likely to be they just happen to know each other. I mean, you've got to remember, in football, everybody knows everybody else in football, don't they?
I think so.
You can talk to any manager. If you ask the manager of Shrewsbury, if whoever that might be at the moment, if he knows the manager of Northampton, he'd probably say, "Oh yeah, we were on a coaching course together 4 years ago. Keep in touch, speak to him occasionally, get some ideas." It happens, doesn't it? It's those sort of circles. People are on the move so often these days, players and managers and coaches and support staff, that there's a lot of networking and a lot of people that know each other. So I don't think I'll lose any sleep over Rich Hughes sitting next to Rob Edwards. We may be proved spectacularly wrong, but if they both end up at some other club somewhere in the summer, but I don't think so. I'm not going to. It's the least of our worries at the moment. Let's worry about beating Derby and not where two people might end up.
Would just like to chuck one little tidbit at you. It doesn't amount to a row of beans, but it's vaguely interesting. You'll raise half an eyebrow, I think.
Okay.
It didn't surprise me in the slightest. I don't think it will surprise you to learn that after they did some research, it was discovered that the average head coach, manager, whatever, spends nearly a third of his time during the game outside of the technical area.
I'm surprised it's that much, actually, but you do see them straying, don't you? Particularly if you're watching a Premier League game and the camera is on the same size as the dugouts, and you've got Pep and Mourinho or something like that. You do see, don't you? They're quite often just outside the technical area.
Yes,
and you kind of think, well, what are they getting? Well, they could get their point across just as well by staying in it.
Yes.
So are they doing it to make a point a little bit? I suppose the thing with that suggests it's not really policed, doesn't it? Because if they were constantly told to get back in it, they wouldn't be able to spend that long out of it.
Yeah.
And does it really matter? In terms of does it give them an advantage by being outside of the
well, there was lots of speculation about the influence that managers have on the team when the game is being played.
Yeah.
And it said that most managers like to be alone out there. Some allow their backroom staff, their colleagues, to spill out and have a word with them and to show them something on the iPad. Because apparently you can watch the game wherever you are on your iPad if you're a member of the coaching team.
Right.
And apparently Harley's got himself one of these little stands that you can put your iPad on now in the dugout.
Okay. So you can see every move, right?
Yeah, all fully tooled up. But the conversation then went on to tracksuit or suit.
Yeah.
Tracksuit suggests that you're more kind of one of the players. You favour the sporting aspect of the game.
Yeah.
Whereas suit suggests that you have the authority, you have the, you have an elevation away from the players because you're in a collar and a tie and a suit. And I think that just pretty much goes without saying, doesn't it? Really.
Yeah. Although you don't see many in suits anymore, do you? It tends to be more like the Mousinho look with sort of casual trousers and t-shirt and whatever jacket over the top of that.
My wife always melts when she sees Guardiola on the touchline because she says he just looks like a clothes horse straight out of a Paris show, you know.
Yeah.
He knows what he looks like, doesn't he?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's all for show. I wonder who was that? When was the last time you saw a manager in an actual suit? I can't think now. I don't remember seeing one for a while. There's probably still one or two old school ones around, aren't there? Premier League and below.
Well, I had
an out like that.
Awful evening once at St Mary's, the only time I've ever been.
Oh dear.
It was them versus Aston Villa, and Villa were managed by a bloke called John Gregory, who was very dapper, and he thought he was very, magazine cover. And he wore
manager.
Sorry, yeah. And he
ex-Pompey manager, of course.
But I don't recall him wearing what he was wearing that night, which was a navy blue, double-breasted blazer with gold buttons.
And very, very posh.
It looked wrong. It really looked wrong. And he spent
perhaps he was going to the Mayflower for some opera afterwards or something like that.
Or hop on a Cunard and go off to the Caribbean. I don't know. That's what he.
Yeah.
That's what he looked like. I don't know. I think it matters. Everything matters a little bit. I've got to get word to John Mousinho because he was a footballer until quite recently. He still occasionally does a little footballer's spit, and I don't think it's a good look for a manager. Yeah,
I've never noticed
that. He did until recently. It's nothing huge. You know, and it's not a statement or anything.
He doesn't realise he's doing it, does he?
No, they don't, do they?
He probably is just second nature after if you've done that all your career.
Of course. There's no damnation for it, but again, he's such a dapper-looking bloke, and he carries himself so well. It's just a small thought. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, we're going to have to look out for suits in the dugout now. Won't be paying attention to the game. These last 5 games, there will be.
Well, some of them also come across as scruff balls. I think Daniel Farke is a good manager, But he really does look as though he spent the last 2 nights out on the tiles, doesn't he?
He does. There's one or two around like that as well. Yeah. Maybe they just think it's not important, not as important as others do. But I don't know, if you were a manager and knowing how much you were going to be filmed and photographed during the game, especially at Pompey's level and above and a little bit below, you'd want to kind of look presentable, wouldn't you?
Yes, I can never manage to pull off presentable. It doesn't matter, even if I'm in my best suit going to a wedding, I still look like a scruff ball.
I'm sure you don't.
I certainly do. I definitely do. Yeah. Anyway, interesting sideline there. Can we pin you down on some sort of a prediction for Saturday?
We can, but I've got a little stat for you first of all, which is kind of related to
Lovely.
the games to come. Right, we're 5 games from the end of the 2024-25 championship season.
Yeah.
Do you know how many clubs at the moment are certain to be in the 2025-26 championship?
Now, I heard something somewhere which said, I can't remember exactly what it was. I think the listener, are you playing this at home? I think it's quite a small number, because there's quite a few could go up and quite a few could go down.
Yeah.
But it surely can't be less than about half a dozen.
The answer is 2.
No!
But what's more interesting is the fact that one of them is Southampton and the other one is Birmingham. They are the only 2 clubs who can say at the moment they will definitely be in the Championship next season.
And one of them is Southampton.
One's going down into it and the other one's coming up into it, because there is not one club in the Championship that can't either go up or down. And there's actually 1 or 2 that could still get in the playoffs but won't, but mathematically could, and could still go down.
Crazy.
If you look at the Swanseas and the QPRs, not quite mathematically impossible for them to get playoffs, but they won't, of course, and not quite mathematically impossible for them to go down. I think everybody above us now is safe, actually, but isn't that amazing though? There's not one of the 24 will definitely be in there.
You always, you've earned your pint of fresh air again.
And it was actually Brian Davis on Twitter, one of my Twitter Pompey friends.
That's a great stat.
He set me off on that one, because he pointed out that Southampton were about the only team who knew they were going to be in it at the moment, and then Birmingham, of course, got promoted the other night, didn't they? So they know they'll be in it. But as to who will be
it's
with
one
them,
of the best bits. One of the best little stats I've had come my way. How about you, listener? He's all right, isn't he, this bone boy? he comes up with the goods.
Kind of you.
Yeah, no, that's great.
That was just a diversion, really, to stop myself having to make a prediction for Saturday. I think we're going to win.
Okay.
There's a school of thought that says if we were to draw against Derby, it's not the end of the world.
Right.
I think if we were to lose to Derby, people would be panicking.
Yeah.
Because it's against Derby and because it's a home defeat and we need our home form to carry on. But so a draw wouldn't be a disaster, but I don't think we'll go into it with that sort of mentality. I think John Mousinho will be telling the players, we've won 10 of our last 14 games at home, we've only lost 2 of them, we're in charge, we're good enough to beat Derby, they beat us 4-0 at their place, let's get our own back a little bit, and I think we'll win, but I don't think we'll win comfortably. I think it's going to be another 1-0 or 2.
I was about to predict that you were going to predict 1-0.
Yeah, I will then. I was between 1-0 and 2-1. 1-0 again. Be our third 1-0 home win in 4 home games. So, lot to be said for a 1-0 win.
Except the last 10 minutes.
Well, I know they're going to go on forever.
The last 10 minutes are going to be a nightmare.
And especially if we're kicking, as we have done a couple of games recently, if we're kicking towards the Milton end in the second half, it seems worse, doesn't it?
Does.
Because the threat is right in front of you.
Yeah.
You can see the ball spinning off of Conor Ogilvy's shin and going towards the goal line or something, and it's terrible. And we'll have to look the other way or something, but I think we'll do it. And if we do beat Derby, then it's 1 foot it's 1 foot in next season's championship, along with Birmingham and Southampton.
And Marlon Pack scores it.
That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Really round the game off for you.
Oh, it would.
Yeah.
25-yard free kick or header from the corner. Don't mind. He can scramble it in from anywhere, as far as I'm concerned.
Always lovely talking to you, Steve. Thanks for everything.
Thank you.